Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Infamous, and today we're talking about Marvel Avengers as we have some brand new information about the game from a recent interview over at PlayStation. They had a full podcast talking with Scott Amos of Crystal Dynamics about Marvel Avengers. Now, I'm really excited to talk about this with you guys today, and if you guys are ready, I want you guys to please like up the video so other people can see it, share it out so other people can see it, and make sure you guys do subscribe for more as we are covering and playing Marvel Avengers here on the channel when the game releases. So, let's dive into the interview and some of the plot points that I found really interesting. Now, overall, this interview wasn't particularly long, but I did want to talk about some of the plot points I found very interesting the most. So the interview started talking about the story mode and the war table. If you're not familiar with what the war table is, this is going to be the central hub for all the missions we're going to do in Marvel Avengers. They said for the most part you'll see two different icons on the war table. That being the story mode icon, which will be represented by an A Avengers logo. And by selecting those will actually guide you through the actual campaign of the story for Marvel Avengers to continue and see how the story unfolds. And then second, you'll see the Warzone icons, which will be a different symbol. They didn't describe what the icon looks like in the game during the interview, but it'll look different than the original story mode icon. Now, the interesting thing that Scott actually touched on during the interview was saying that the Warzone missions do actually have some kind of story weaved into them. Now, when it comes to the Warzone stories, they will be character specific, and he kind of gave an example with Black Widow. Now, first, he did call them hero chain missions because they will be chained together to give you a sequence of what happened either during the events of A-Day, after A-Day, or after the campaign finishes. Not to mention, this will actually give you specific rewards and give you other items you can actually level up your character with and give it even better stats. Now, this is something I actually found really interesting, simply for the fact that after you finish the game, you technically have more story to actually complete. That's really cool because you can dive into what happened with Iron Man during the events after A-Day. What did he do in that little time of 2 years? You'll play different missions which will give you objectives, and you'll be playing those specific missions saying, hey, I did this during the 2 years, and you can play those online or with the AI offline. And not to mention, it's going to be a super cool way to get specific gear for your character that you wouldn't normally get throughout the standard campaign or other Warzone missions. And adding on to that, after the post-launch of the game, they will be adding more Warzone missions to the game to give characters even more development. Not to mention give some of the new DLC characters which will be coming out, and again, those DLC characters are free, but also giving them some more context about what their story is and what they did maybe even before A-Day and after A-Day, and of course, after the campaign ends. Now, as the interview progressed, Scott also got asked a couple questions about some specific parts of the story mode and what happens after the story is actually finished. Now, one thing Scott did talk about during the interview was actually about AIM and what's actually going on with them post the actual campaign, saying there is actually more villains that are within AIM to possibly stir up the pot even more and give us even more DLC characters, and that can tie into the Warzone stories. Now, I also found this really interesting simply for the fact that we could possibly see different organizations that are kind of built into AIM, maybe even Hydra, as Hydra is very known and can be a great Warzone set missions for Captain America. Not to mention, this can also give us other iconic characters as main boss villains that we can see within the story mode or the Warzone missions. Now, one of the last things I do want to mention, which is not super impactful to the story, but there is some Easter eggs in the game because you can find different files in different areas of the game's map to actually kind of give you links about other Marvel characters. He did mention Nick Fury and Maria Hill, as these characters are within the Marvel Avengers game universe. Now, overall, I found this interview actually very informative. I did not get every single plot point, but I'll have a link down below in the description for you guys who want to check out the full podcast. It is about an hour long. You only need to kind of be in there for the first 40 minutes, and that'll give you the actual information for Marvel Avengers. But overall, this interview was pretty dang on dope. I really enjoyed talking about it, and hopefully we get a lot more information on June 24th with the War Table stream. I cannot wait to see what Marvel Avengers does, what the gameplay looks like, and what has been updated, because this information, even talking about post story with the Warzone missions, you can play them online, offline, like that's just amazing to really keep the game going. Plus, free DLC. Like no other big title game is giving us free DLC. This game's gonna have microtransactions, but that's just cosmetic. That is freaking amazing. If you don't want the costumes, don't get the costumes, man. I cannot wait to play the Warzone missions. It's gonna be dope to play those, unlock costumes, a whole bunch of stuff. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of this information that I found out during the podcast. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below as well. I'll see you guys all in the next video. And this has been your boy Infamous, and I am out.